So thank you everybody for joining this webinar. Today it's a special one as we will finally demonstrate the use of ECLAIR with IDEs and extensible editors, which is an issue that all static analysis tools vendors have been grappling with for years. My name is Lavinia Battaglia. I am the customer service representative here at BUGSENG, and our speaker is Roberto Bagnara, who is a CTO and chief scientist at BUGSENG, other than a very passionate computer science professor at the University of Parma. Not only, Roberto is also a member of the MISRA working group and of the International Standardization Working Group of the C programming language. Before we start, please note that you can drop all of your questions in the Q&A section on the left of your screen. We'll try to reply to as many as we can at the end of the demonstration. All right, then, let's turn this over to Roberto.
Okay, so thank you for attending. Before starting with the presentation, I will present some slides which I prepared in order to prepare the stage. So first of all, what was the problem? We already have what I believe is the most advanced report browsing technology available on the market. Of course, I am biased. However, this is exactly what I think. And with our current technology, you can explore both the reports and the source code. And as I demonstrated in one of the webinars you will find on our YouTube channel, you can browse the reports and the source code, including the code before preprocessing and after preprocessing, which sometimes is essential in order to understand what a violation is about. However, what happens if you want to change the code or use other features of your favorite IDE or just editor? Well, one possibility, you can keep the IDE or the editor window next to the ECLAIR browser window, but you have to maintain synchronization by hand. So you see that the report concerns a certain file in a certain position, and then you have to go to, you have to instruct your editor to go to that position and so on. And you cannot be reminded about the issue in the IDE or in the editor. And moreover, if you, while you change a code, you add or remove lines, maintaining synchronization between the report browser and the editor is even more difficult. So there are unsatisfactory solutions to the problem, which is what we had until, I don't know, 1 week ago. So there are many IDEs and editors that are able to parse specially formatted textual comments like the one I'm showing. So this is the file name, reflect.c, and this is the range that my attention is drawn to by the tool. So it's line 37 from column 20 to column 23, and there is some explicative messages which I've just made up for the example. So this is better than nothing, but it's not so good. Why? Because most IDEs do with this message, what they do is very, very basic. So very often the column numbers are even not allowed, or they are simply ignored. So they point you to the line and you have to guess where exactly in the line the thing you're looking for is. There is no support for reports that involve multiple files or multiple areas. So by this, I mean that the IDEs that are able to parse these specially formatted comments treat each message as unrelated to one another, whereas a good tool will show several messages that are all related to one specific issue. There is no access to preprocessed code because preprocessed code doesn't exist as far as the IDE is concerned. And the same problem we already mentioned. So if you add or remove lines, then all the subsequent reports in the same file will refer to the wrong line numbers. And also, and this is a commercial issue, this is only available, for example, for ECLAIR for site licenses, because this requires the tool to be able to emit textual violation code without any restriction. And of course, this is not good because you don't want that a single user license is used by 100 engineers, for example. So the demonstration will show you what we are come up with. We have been working on this issue for a couple of years now. So until now, we were not happy about what we had. And now we have a solution we are very proud of. So there are several IDEs that are already supported. Typically, all the Eclipse-based IDEs are supported. In the slide, you find all those we explicitly tested until today without any problems. And we have already support extensible editors. In the announcement of the webinar, we said Emacs is supported and we are working on Visual Studio Code, whereas work on Visual Studio Code is so advanced that it's basically finished. So I will demonstrate also this one in this webinar. So before proceeding, let us do a couple of very short polls.
Yes, I just launched the first one. So which kind of IDE do you use the most?
Okay, so just a few words of explanation. So Eclipse or Eclipse-based are already supported. So we are doing this poll in order to prioritize with respect to the others. You may be using IAR, or you may use a NetBeans-based IDEs such as MPLAB X from Microchip or Visual Studio or even others. So in this case, we would like to know.
Okay, so a 17% is using IAR and 24% Visual Studio and 37% Eclipse or Eclipse-based, and another 23-ish percent other. So we will investigate what's other.
Okay, so it seems that our choice of prioritizing Eclipse first was a good one. And let's go to the second poll now.
Yes, there you go. So apart from the editor integrated in your IDEs, which editor do you use the most for programming?
Okay, so Visual Studio Code and Emacs is already supported. So this is why it is the last but one.
And the majority is using that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I can read it. 50% is using either Visual Studio Code or Emacs. And we have nobody using Atom, 13% both for gedit and Vim, and 22% other. Okay, so before starting with the demonstration, a few disclaimers. First thing, I do not use IDEs myself, and I am very bad at them. So this is good news and bad news. It's good news because if I can do it, you can do it. Everybody can do it. And it is bad news because you will see that I'm not very familiar with how one uses IDEs. I am rather the Emacs and command line kind of person. Second disclaimer, the demonstrated features will be available in ECLAIR 3.8.0, which is not the current release, it's the next one. It will be released officially in a couple of weeks, so mid-May or 20th of May at the latest. And an important thing, the following demonstration is only meant to illustrate the new ECLAIR interface with IDEs and extensible editors. And in particular, it should not be taken as to encourage a bad approach to compliance. In particular, a rashly or daringly approach to compliance is counterproductive. So whenever you see the violation, you immediately go and change the code or deviate the rule. This is not good. And I will do this just for presentation, okay? Another thing, a trial and error approach to compliance is a time waster. You are not going to save any time if you change the code, reanalyze, change the code again, reanalyze. This is a waste of time. You need to take your time, understand what is the situation, make some in planning for the changes to be made, and then do the changes. So don't tell I didn't warn you. I did warn you. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. Another disclaimer is this. I have a very large screen in my desktop computer, but I cannot use it because it's so large that for the presentation it will not be okay. So it will be reduced and you will see nothing. So I'm using a notebook with a screen which is quite small, and so I will be forced to change workspace. This is not the idea. The idea is that you do this on a screen which is large enough to have at least 2 windows open at a decent size. Okay, so let us start. So here I have Eclipse, and I have taken a project, a small project. As you can see, there are just 3 translation units, so 3.c file and 2.h files. I have imported this into Eclipse. So Eclipse generated automatically the make files. And what I did was to create a configuration for ECLAIR. Okay, so the ECLAIR configuration, so let me just show you what is, okay, this was generated by Eclipse, release. It will use make to do the build, and it will be a make all and make clean. This was automatically generated by Eclipse. What I did do was to create one configuration which is called ECLAIR. And ECLAIR will not use directly make, it will use ECLAIR make. By the way, the -J12 is for parallelism. I didn't add -J12 myself. It's here because I have enabled parallelism. So this notebook has 6 cores. So parallelism 12 is optimal according to Eclipse. So it's Eclipse that added this -J12. So ECLAIR make is a make file that is not secret. It will be distributed along with ECLAIR. So it has settings. Users of ECLAIR will recognize the things that they always do anyway. They may set the project name using this environment variable and then the project root and so on. The only thing I want to show to you is that the make will take place with the same arguments that have been passed on the command line, so -J12, if I have seen correctly. However, all this will be done into an ECLAIR environment. Okay, ECLAIR environment. This is a configuration file that we use. Okay, it's very simple. And then the make will be done under control of ECLAIR. Okay, so let me go back here to properties. Okay, there is this ECLAIR thing. There is another ECLAIR target, which is called ECLAIR STU, which means single translation unit. Ignore this. It will be used in another webinar where we will suggest a possible workflow for using ECLAIR. We will have individual developer focusing on a single translation unit, MISRA, for example, MISRA rules, and we will have the system-wide MISRA rules running on a server with Jenkins. So, but now we use the ECLAIR target. Okay, so let me start. First of all, I clean the project. So those of you who have seen previous webinars know that ECLAIR works by intercepting the build. So by intercepting the toolchain components. The toolchain components I'm intercepting here, okay, they are written in this file, ECLAIR settings. So I am intersecting all the components of the GNU toolchain, which is what I'm using here. I'm telling ECLAIR, look, whenever GCC is invoked, you are in charge, and so on with the other components. So I have cleaned the project. Now I can build the project. So this is the build. Actually, the build has been done in an ECLAIR environment. So we have seen. Okay, I've made some tests before starting the webinar, so here we have other tabs. So this web browser popped up. It's Google Chrome because it's a default browser on this machine. It could have been any other web browser. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so and this guy here, the guy who is driving this web browser is the master. This is driving. If I make selections of report here, this will be all what I will see in the other IDs. But let me start from the beginning. Okay, so here we have the violations. Some violation of NC3 is bar C 2018. I decided to have the presentation on bar C 2018 because it's simpler to understand, the rules are simpler, and so here I'm focusing on things that are independent on the rule set. Okay, I have chosen a project which is relatively clean with respect to the bar coding standard. So you see that here, all the lines here, NC3 that you see in gray, they don't have any violation in the code. So many rules are already, we have compliance. So, okay. So let's start from this one. So 1.1.a. Okay. So this is a rule saying that all the code should be written in C99. And of course, it should be compiled in C99. And so what happened is that ECLAIR has detected that the compiler is in C11 mode, which is not good. So this is not a problem in the code. It's a problem in the build procedure. So let me go here. And let me go back to the project configuration. Okay. So what is it? It is C++ build. It was here before, settings. Okay, settings. The language dialect should be C99, not just for the ECLAIR configuration. Of course, I should pay attention to this. Here I have to have C99 for all the configuration. Okay. Okay. Apply and close. Now I have to clean again. Why I have to clean? Because nothing will be recompiled. I didn't change. I don't think. Or maybe it is. No, it is. Okay. Sorry. Eclipse is smart enough. I changed the configuration, so it will recompile, and I also will get revised report. So now it's not apparent. I have to refresh. Where is it? No, sorry. I have to clean. I have to clean my database. Okay. Then I build the project again. Okay. And the violation for 1.1.a are gone. Okay. So good. So let's go to the next violation. There are some lines that are too long. Okay. So in order to fix this, I have to reformat these comments. So it's trivial, and I know how to do it. Very easily with Emacs. So what I do, I enable ECLAIR on Emacs. This is Emacs. Okay. So now I go here and I do Control click. If I do Control click, Emacs is in charge now. So Emacs will, I have a preview window here. Okay, clicking on this, I go to this point where I have the violation. Okay, now ECLAIR is enabled. So you can see first report, previous report, next report. So I can do a lot of things I will not have time to explain here. Let me just fix this violation. So I select the region and I type fill region. Okay. So by default, Emacs uses 78 characters, I think, for the line. So this will be compliant. Okay. So I can now save. I want to put this out of the way, so move them to workspace down. I will not show Emacs again. So I have saved things, and so I can build the project again. You see that Eclipse detected that only one file was changed. Actually, Make detected that only one file was changed, crc.c, and since the dependencies in the make file are correct, only crc.c was recompiled, and so only crc.c was analyzed. So I refresh, Control R, and you see there are no longer any violations for this. Okay, so I refresh also this one. So 1.2.a has disappeared. So there are many features I could show. I don't have time now, but let us make an example. Suppose I am here. I am sorry. Suppose I am here. I'm looking at some files here. I don't know. I select a piece of text here, printf format. By keeping the control key, where is it now? Okay, no. I wanted to do this on Emacs, so you can see how bad I am in. So let me now do this, but I forgot to click on cont. So okay, so now Eclipse took control again. You see that I have no. Oh. Okay, printf format is what I selected on the report browser, and this got selected now in Emacs, which was the one that was enabled. So let's go back to, now I want ECLAIR enabled here. So only one of those, let me try to explain this again. This guy here, the web browser, is the one who drives. At most, one of the others can be in control. So if ECLAIR is connected to this guy, sorry, if Eclipse is connected to this guy, then Emacs will not be connected. Okay, and same thing for Visual Studio Code. So let's go to the next report, is 1.6.8. So this gives me the opportunity to show you a couple of important features. The violation says that, so the rule says that each cast shall feature an associated comment describing how the code ensures proper behavior across the range of possible values on the right side. So there is an implicit cast here. However, you don't see it. I don't see it either. Why? Because the cast is embedded in a macro top bit, I guess. So if we move to the subsequent area of the violation, we see the code after pre-processing, and now we can see better what is going on. So it's clear what is going on. One, I mean, let me click here. So this one here is signed. Okay. So since this is signed and it is shifted, the result of the shift is signed. Okay. Whereas reminder is unsigned. Okay. So there is an implicit conversion from int to unsigned, which is a violation, of course. Okay, where is the problem? The problem is in the macro. You see, Eclair is showing to me the macro. Now, if I do control click, I am here in Eclipse. Okay, here is the problem. The problem is here. And now, if you have a rashy attitude, you would immediately go and say, hey, I have to add a comment here because the rule is asking me to add a comment. No, you should think. And if you think, you will see that here you have that one signed is shifted by 31 positions. Okay, because size of CRCT, so CRCT is defined here in crc.h. On this configuration, which is CRC32, which is shown, the rest is gray, meaning that it's not the version that is being compiled, is uint32t. So the size t is 4. 4 times 8 makes 32, minus 1, 31. So this is undefined behavior. You don't want to add a comment. You want to avoid undefined behavior. So the right solution here is you stick a capital, well, you could use lowercase u, but I prefer the capital U just after the 1. So this is unsigned, okay? And this is much better. So now let's save all, just in case. And let me build the project again. Okay? I build the project again. I refresh. And this has disappeared. Okay? It's no longer present. We don't longer have a violation. So the Eclair implementation of this rule only asks you to add a comment if the conversion is unsafe. So if you may lose the sign, the precision, or the value, okay, which is not what happens now. Now it's all okay due to the fact that we changed the type to unsigned. Okay, so there is no longer a dangerous conversion. Okay, so here we have another problem. And what is the problem? The problem is that we are having a conversion. Okay, we are converting to uint 8t. So we are converting from uint 32t. So this is not good. Let me go here to the section of code. I did control click, so I am where I want to be. Okay, so let's look at reflect data. Here it is. Okay, here we see that there is indeed a conversion which will not preserve the value. So reflect returns a 32-bit unsigned quantity. When we convert to 8-bit unsigned, wrapping may take place. So I don't know this code. I assume, I make the assumption, of course, if I was doing this not in a demonstration, but for real, I would think twice. So I will now add this comment. Okay. Let me just let me alone. Never do this at home. This is not what you should do. So let me alone, and let me reanalyze now. Okay. You see the violation is still here. Okay. And why it's still here? It's still here because the checker by Eclair it's configurable. You can choose. It will try to understand whether the comment makes sense. So this comment is not accepted. So will, for example, look for words like wrap or wrapping or no, this written in the manual. So a sensible thing to be done is wrapping is expected. Yeah. Okay. So I will use this comment instead. But now I have a line which is likely too long, so I don't want this to give me another warning because the line is too long. So I use line splicing, and okay, I do it. I don't know, tab. Okay. Okay, so let me save, and let me build the project again. So only one file was. So now I refresh, and now there is another problem. So we should think now, what is the problem? Eclair is saying now we are going from int to unsigned. Okay, so it's not just a matter of the conversion to uint8. There is more. And can you see what is the problem here? So it's still here. So this is uint8, but we are on an architecture where int is 32 bits. So integer promotion will take place, and this uint8 quantity will be converted to int, not to unsigned int, because the integer promotion rule says that you choose int if it fits, and if it doesn't fit, you choose unsigned int. So here we want another cast. By similarity with the other macros, we want a cast to CRCT. Because if we don't have this cast on this architecture, okay, uint8 will be promoted to signed int, which is not what is wanted yet. Okay, let me save. Let me build the project again. Okay, and now it's okay. There are still two violations of this rule. We don't care. So strlen return an unsigned quantity. It is being assigned to an integer variable. I don't know why, if this is intentional or not, if it needs fixing the code, writing a comment, I have no idea. And here we have a similar thing. So here probably the point is that a capital U is missing from the first occurrence of 1. So, but let's move to another rule. So 1.8.b, we have 3 violations. Okay, the const keyword shall be used whenever appropriate. So this rule is being violated, and because Eclair detects that no changes are made to this variable. So in order to ensure const correctness, it is better to add a const. Okay. So, but now I want to show you, this is Visual Studio Code. Okay, so, okay, I just installed the Eclair extension. I have not presented how you install the plugins, but it's trivial. So it's basically with plugin, install new plugin, you take the plugin from the file, you accept the license, you click finish, and Visual Studio Code or Eclipse will tell you, should I restart? And you say yes, and then the plugin is immediately usable. So let me now enable Visual Studio Code because I want to use this. So I control click, and now here I am at the first. These are problems. These have nothing to do with Eclair. So I don't know. Visual Studio Code is detecting these things. I don't know what they are. They have nothing to do with Eclair. So I have to add a const here. Let me add a const here. Let me go to the next report by. Okay, so this one, I think it's best if I put it here, and I would like to see. Oh, sorry, here. Okay, Eclair report. Okay, so first report was this one. I've already fixed it. Next report, I have to fix it. Eclair suggests to use char pointer const instead. So let me add the const here. However, I know there is a bar C stylistic guideline that would complain if I don't align this declaration. So let me align this so as to avoid to introduce a new violation. Next report. Okay, so this one, I add a const here. Const. Okay. Now I save. Save all. Go back. Reanalyze. Build project. Okay. So let me refresh this. They are gone. So there is no longer any violation of 1.8.b. Now, in my list of things to show, I go to 2.2.h. Okay, so this rule of bar C 2018 says each module and function shall be commented in a manner suitable for automatic documentation generation, for example, via BUGSENG. And Eclair does support BUGSENG. And here, Eclair is finding something quite interesting. So Eclair doesn't simply recognize BUGSENG comments, it also interprets BUGSENG comment. Okay, and what is the problem here? Let me control click. Let's go to. Oh no, I wanted this to be on. Okay, here. Sorry, I want it to be here. No, I don't want to see this. I want to go here. I said. Okay, so what's the problem here? Of course, if this was the code was changed and the comment was not updated. So in the comment we see we have num2, whereas in the code we have n bits. So the solution here is to change this to match n bits. And let's re-establish alignment, which is always useful as a visual aid. So let me save. And let me build the project again. Okay, refresh, gone. So this is no longer a violation. It's gone. Now, I want to show you something in 2.2.a. So there are several guidelines in bar C 2018 that have to do with language. So variable names, comments, they should be written in a clearly defined language. So in this case, it is English. So why it is English? So I have configured Eclair. Here is a configuration file to use a dictionary, an English US dictionary, which has been shipped with Eclair, and to use an additional file of good words, which I wrote for this project. So CRC was not in the dictionary, so I've said CRC is okay. LSB, CCITT, which is something related, is also okay. I am happy to use API, file name, and init. And also I have accepted a few single letters which seems to be used in the project. So, and I wanted to have a few violations, so I have accepted those. So these are in the dictionary, they are accepted. And so, however, what was the violation here? Oh, okay, this one. Oh, there is one violation which is still there. So I can control click, and I am brought here. So what's the point here is that it's that there is this L, which is not a single letter which is accepted. So I want to see here, no? Okay. So there are other features. So if I go here and then I double click again here, I am brought to where the problem is. The problem is here. So I want to this to be accepted. So I will take the occasion of illustrating a feature of Eclair, which is not new. It's already in the system, I don't know, since more than 1 year for sure, which is the possibility of adding hiding instructions in the code. So I do this. I write a comment. The comment is special. It's specially formatted. This pattern, the dash sign, capital E, and greater than sign, it means, hey, this is not an ordinary comment. It's a comment that Eclair understands. And I tell to Eclair, hide NC3.2.2.A, which is the rule which is being violated here, in this line and 1 and 2 following lines. Okay. And now here I have the option to write a justification, free format. So, for example, I can write -L is the spelling of an option. So it's good. Now I save and I build the project again under the control of Eclair, and this is gone. Okay. So this was, by the way, this feature is very easy to be abused. However, there is a unique feature to Eclair. If you deviate in the code, a violation that doesn't exist, you will get a violation of another guideline, a Eclair guideline that says you don't deviate things that do not exist. Okay, so this will be for another webinar. Now I have to be careful not to exceed the available time. Let me so next in my list of things to be shown is 4.3.c. It is this one. Okay. And what is the problem here? So there is a guideline saying that each source file shall always include the header file of the same name. Okay, here we see 2 violations. One concerns main.c, and for this we may want to deviate because okay, should we create main.h just to please the guideline? Oh, we deviate. There are several ways for deviating, so let me show one for which I can deviate here in the web browser. So I want to hide reports where the file is main.c. You might wonder why it is main.c ~2. And the reason is this. We are using the incremental analysis facilities by Eclair. So Eclair has already seen other 2 versions of main.c. We changed main.c twice. So in order to let you be aware of this, so when we made the first change, the reanalysis was that file was named main.c ~1 to warn you, look, we have used incremental analysis. And so we have changed the file with respect to what it was during the first analysis. Okay, so here I am excluding all violations that are from main.c, but it is too much. I don't want to lose the other the violations of the other guidelines just because they are in main.c. So I want the thing to be restricted to, okay, so I hide all reports where all the following are true. The file is main.c and the rule, the service, which is in one-to-one correspondence to the rule, is this one. Okay, so I remain with this. Anything, as I told you, this guy is the master. Anything I hide here will not be shown by the IDEs, okay? So now I control click. What is the problem? The problem is that this guy, reflect.c, is not including reflect.h, which does exist. So an inclusion is missing, okay? So let me control click. And let me add the inclusion of reflect.h. Reflect.h, I have added the inclusion. I save. Now, please note that I am not reanalyzing. I am not reanalyzing because I wanted to show you one thing. I can view the reports by file. Okay, if I go to the reports in reflect.c, you see that, okay, so this was the first one. The inclusion of reflect.h was not present, and there was a report, and there were reports for subsequent lines, 24, 37, okay? So now you would think that since I have added one line, what was line 24 is now line 25. However, if I shift click here, even though here I can still see 24, of course, if I reanalyze, this will be changed to 25. But if I control click here, I go to the right place, even though now it is in line 25. What happens? It happens that the IDEs and the extensible editors we have interfaced, they are properly interfaced. Whenever they save a file, they inform ECLAIR, look, I have added one line, or I have removed from this to this, or I have added these characters here. And ECLAIR will take this into account to make sure that you can continue working, okay? Of course, if you make thousands of changes, you rename files, you do all sorts of things, then you will have to reanalyze at some stage. But it's not necessary to reanalyze just because you have added a few lines or removed a few lines. Okay. So, okay, I hope this was clear enough. You will have noticed that I have, instead of, I don't know, control clicking, I shift clicked, or I did some things that were not the right thing. As I said, I am not very used to click. I am a command line person. And so I think it's enough for the demonstration. And if you have questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Okay, Roberto, thank you. First question. We have a non-make-based build flow, rather complex and heavily customized. This is a nightmare for many analysis tools. Does ECLAIR support that?
Yes, sure it does. This is probably a good topic for a subsequent webinar. However, I mentioned this in one of the past webinars. ECLAIR works by intercepting the toolchain components, so the C compiler, the C++ compiler, the assembler, the linker, the librarian, at a very low level in the operating system. So whenever the compiler is invoked, ECLAIR will go into execution. it will obtain from the operating system the command line option, which ECLAIR is able to fully parse for all the supported compiler, and ECLAIR as an abstract model of each supported compiler, so it knows, so to speak, which effects has every command line option, and it will do the right thing. So concerning this the use within an Eclipse-based, this is already supported natively by Eclipse, because as you can see, you can have any build command. So any build command, in our case, it's called ECLAIR make, which in turn runs make in this example, but it's sufficient to take ECLAIR make here. How do you invoke your very complex build procedure? Just write the command line for the invocation of your build procedure here, and make sure that you are in the intended working directory, and everything will work as expected.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. Another question is, when will ECLAIR 3.8 be available? So next version.
Okay, so it's now in the testing phase. The only things being changed right now are documentation and the manual, and the qualification kit is being updated, also because there is a new feature in the qualification kit. Also the ECLAIR feature about the computation of metrics will be supported by the qualification kit, and this is important for our customer, for example, in the automotive sector, and other sectors governed by functional safety standards that require the computation of metrics and an assessment of the quality of the tool with which they compute metrics. So it will be, as I said, between 15 and 20 of May will be the official release date.
All right. Thank you, Roberto, for the nice presentation. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. Of course, if you have more questions, you can always drop us an email at info@bugseng.com. Also, if you'd like to see this webinar again or share it with your colleagues, head over to our YouTube channel. We will send you the link in the post-webinar mailing. There you will find all previous webinars as well. Friends in automotive or concerned by tool qualification in any industry sector, watch out for next webinar, which will be next week on April 28th. And it's going to be about the qualification of software tools in compliance with ISO 26262. Okay, so we are signing off now. I hope to see you all next time. Have a nice weekend, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for your attention.